Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Please don't.
Oh, no.
Please don't.
Yeah, don't let her jump up.
That's fine. You can just chill. You're fine.
Just if she looks like she's gonna jump, move the tray. Hi. How you doing? Crimson's here too. Hi, guys.
This is so adorable and it hurts so much.
Yeah. Sorry, a little distracted. Do you want to hand me the...
The reason for the distraction?
Yeah. We gotta tell him.
Yeah.
Gotta tell
Come here,
him.
you.
There's no way.
Come here, you.
No, it's just the light. No, my hair's normal colored. Sorry we're so distracted. But it's a very cute little distraction. This is Toast. Toast was found under my car yesterday, taking a little nap in the sunshine. And is so small. And then immediately got herself stuck in a little thorn bush because she got scared when she saw us. So we extricated her from the thorn bush. And she was so small and so underfed that we decided we were going to try and keep her and get her fed. And it turned out she actually had a bot fly in her neck. And then we had to take her to the Humane Society and had them remove it so now she can eat and meow, and she's very active. She is a little bit malnourished and a little bit underhydrated. So, Dad, if any time you think it's prudent, you can use that syringe and give her a little bit of water because she's having trouble drinking. Oh, we are really winning the cat lotto this year.
Yeah.
She immediately warmed up to us. She's adorable. She's exactly a pound. She is a pound. She can fit in your hand. She won't stay still in your hand, but she will fit in there. And she's absolutely adorable. So if you hear like a high-pitched keening, that is baby Toast.
Or Dad, because she's standing on the sunburn.
Yeah, Toast. That we named her that because I named her that. Honestly, Dave was supposed to name her, and she was laying down and she's white on her belly and then crispy on top. So I called her Toast. And then we just started singing Yeah Toast. And then that became the bit, and then we just never stopped calling her Toast. So then I accidentally named the cat. Dad has sunburn, yeah.
Pretty gnarly.
Dad has a pretty gnarly sunburn, and the cat's trying to crawl all over Dad's sunburn, which is adorable
and painful and hilarious.
So I'm like watching this cat walk all over Dad's sunburn, and he's just sitting there like, it's so cute.
I'm the bulldog from the Tom and Jerry
Chris is
commercials.
also Toast, yeah. Yeah, Chris is also Toast.
I prefer extra crispy, thank you.
Dad's extra crispy, this is Toast. So worth it. Yeah.
I am the dog from the freaking Tom and Jerry cartoons, and she is the kitten that just rips up skin.
Toasty Thorn. Because we found her in a thorn bush.
It's cold. Sorry.
Are you good?
I'm just putting aloe on my leg. Because someone decided to stomp all over it.
So... Yeah, Toast.
Yeah, Toast.
Yeah, Toast.
Yeah, Toast.
That song, I don't even think is still relevant. It's only a joke. For like 5 people.
Yeah, Toast.
It's adorable. Adorable Toast. It's a little baby.
She's precious.
Let me know when you're done so I can hand off Toast. That guy is on TikTok. Oh, the Yeah Toast guy. No, I saw. Yeah, here you go. Say bye. Oh.
Alright, here comes Toast.
Get Toast.
Here you go, back up to the shoulder.
We're trying to get Toast to eat and drink more. It's a slow process. She's very emaciated. She scares me because if you've ever picked up like an emaciated animal, especially like this small, but like even Minty had not gone without food that long because I can feel the individual vertebra of her spine and it makes me feel like she's like fragile like glass and I'm like and you need a cat called Cinnamon, so you have Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Thank you for the tea. Dad is tea master. I had to make tea because we're doing a lot of complicated.
To be Irish, so this is acceptable.
Today. I had a cat Marmalade who was light toast. Aw, that's adorable. But yeah, we were trying to put a little bit of weight on her. She's so tiny. We can't get her shots until 2 weeks from now, and then we won't be able to get her fixed for a few months. She's real young, so
She's just a baby.
that would just be Cinnamon Toast. I didn't mean to name her. I just kept calling her Toast, and it just stuck. I think it was that Chris is making it crunch. Definitely a girl. We took her to the Humane Society. And they told us. Because honestly, it was so small, we couldn't really figure it out. So we were like, not sure. They. So we were calling the cat they for a while. They, them. and then we took her to the Humane Society so they could get that botfly out of her neck. We didn't even know it was in there. We just knew that she was very lethargic, and we thought that was because she was underfed. So we gave her, we got the tube meat. It's just like chicken sauce, you know what I mean? And then we got her, we already had wet food and dry food. And then we're trying to give her whatever she wanted to eat, and she wasn't eating that much, and she wasn't drinking that much, and she was really lethargic. She was about to die. And so, another day or two, she was not gonna, so, little miracles. Little miracle baby. So cute. Yeah, so I'm glad we found her when we did. She's gonna have a happy home. She was spicy for about 5 minutes until she realized that we were gonna feed her. We gave her tube meat and she was like, oh, so you guys are helpful giants. Got it. And then immediately warmed up to us.
Baby
And so, right when we opened up this room again, we gotta close it back. Oh man. Pond and Minty especially are super upset. Pond and Minty are like boycotting me and Dave. Pond is very mad. Minty's mad at me specifically. Like, won't let me pet her. The second she smelled a new cat, she was like, she hissed at me. She hissed at the new kitten. She hasn't let me pet her. She keeps running away whenever I try and pet her. And I'm like, oh no. Minty's so upset. She hasn't even been here that long. People don't... Yeah.
She keeps grooming my mustache.
Oh yeah, she will groom you. It's really cute.
It's so cute. She was grooming my eyelashes earlier.
I haven't had her try and groom my eyelashes, but she has tried to groom my beard. And I'm like, okay. That's weird. She's so cute though. So we have that. So if I seem distracted, or you hear a loud keening noise, that is what that is. It is toast. Oh, I relocated my tea on myself. I forgot where it was. Now, we do have a lot to get through today. And I don't know how well I'm going to be able to get through it. Because literally it's all over the place. So my voice is going to be doing a whole lot today. I might drop some accents, or I might not. I don't know. It depends on how my throat feels and what it's doing. I made tea for that reason specifically, because I knew it was going to be a little crazy. But if you don't know what's going on, I got a chain. I found, more specifically, I took something else off a chain that I found, and I was like, at the bottom of my... where I keep all my gauges, I found a different necklace with something else on it, and I was like, I'll just take this off. I took the thing off.
Oh my god, she's croissanted on me.
Oh. Toast curled up into a croissant. Oh, it's so cute.
Croissant.
Anyway, if you're new here and you don't know what we do, I read you a little bit of a bedtime story depending on when your bedtime is, and also if you like stories. If you don't, this probably isn't the live for you. Right now, we're working our way through Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and we are on the last one in the series, so if you just joined up now, you just found this now, you might want to go to my YouTube. The link is in my bio. You can find every recording that I have done previously, all the books in order, and also you can check out the author, Ransom because they're a really great author, done a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot of cool implementation of real photographs in here, which is a really fun read, so go check it out for yourself if you haven't. And we are going to be starting with Chapter 5 today, so if you don't know what's happened up until this point, you've never read this book, there's probably going to be a lot of spoilers. So you should probably go catch up and meet back here when you're done. Now, last time, this book kind of started out ready to rock and roll, and it is not going to let up now. So, Jacob and Noor get back to Devil's Acre with not so great feelings. All their friends are there. They're all happy to see him. But Jacob and Noor didn't come back with great news, because calls back and we have to alert people immediately. So we did. We alerted an Imbrin, and now we got to go alert everybody else. So that is where we're leaving off now, with call back as a strange tornado demon and Murnau. Everybody, stuff's gonna pop off pretty quickly here, so I'm just gonna warn you. Also to warn you, I'm gonna have to do a lot of accents that I'm not great at, and I'm also gonna have to do like a 1950s radio announcer. So that's gonna be fun. And so if you want to see me be bad at accents and stuff, now is the time. So I'm just warning you about that ahead of time.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. You can go back to
Hi.
sleep. It's okay.
Glad you're here. Now,
You're okay.
who is ready for us to go ahead and start Chapter 5? Are we ready to rock? You all got some beverages? Got a nice soft blanket? Your favorite pet? Thank you. Please refill tea.
I will.
Sorry, I'm going to get really up close to the camera because Dad's in charge of the tea.
And I can only use one hand.
We can only use one hand because there's a kitten.
I will put it in the Discord. I will put it in the super secret place.
Dad's doing the most right now. Thank you.
I cannot disturb the baby.
Yeah, he's in charge. He's multitasking, hardcore. All right, Chapter 5. Our trip across the Acre was surreal. More surreal than usual, that is. It wasn't just the strange sky, which was a bruised purple rather than its normal shade of sickly yellow, or the deep drifts of ash that swirled around our feet as we walked, or the dark rivulets of drying blood weeping down the walls of buildings. It was the idea, easy to forget from moment to moment, that we were now living in a nightmare, walking through a world in which the worst thing I could imagine, short of everyone I loved dying, had come to pass. It was a hard and immutable fact, and we were about to break this awful news to all of our friends. Enoch kept pestering me. "Who's him? Is it who I think it is? Is that why I almost got knocked unconscious by hailbones yesterday? Is he back?" But I wouldn't tell him anything. And finally, Miss Peregrine had to separate us so that he'd leave me alone. It had not fully struck me how unwise the architecture of their house was until, crossing the last footbridge over their narrow tributary of Fever Ditch, I saw the place again. It was twice as wide at the third floor as it was at the ground, like a pyramid stood on its head, and was prevented from tipping into the ditch only by a forest of wooden struts and stilts that stretched to the upper stories. In an attempt to brighten things up, Fiona had covered the leaning house in flowers, reinforced it, really, with long, winding cables of purple dog rose. They trailed up the stilts and spilled from window boxes, but they only filled me with dread, a reminder of the vines that held me down on Grave Hill, and of the horror of being forced to watch helplessly as Murnau committed his atrocities. The front door flew open. Olive bounded out and stomped down the rickety steps.
You must stop disappearing like this,
she cried, attacking me with a hug, and then the others all came flooding out. Horace and Millard and Claire and Hugh, so many at once that they bottlenecked in the doorway and had to struggle free of one another, and then they were rushing down the steps, crowding us, shouting questions.
"Is it really them?"
Horace cried.
"It's really them,"
Olive sang, twirling to hug Nor.
"We've been looking everywhere for you,"
said Claire, gaping at me with wide, frightened eyes.
"Were you kidnapped?"
"They better have been," Hugh said, pulling me into a hard embrace. "Not even a note."
"They'll tell you everything,"
said Miss Peregrine, glancing at the curious faces peering from nearby buildings.
"once we get indoors."
We were bundled inside amid a cluster of nervously chattering friends, and there was Fiona, covered in blankets and chickens, on a daybed in the middle of the hay-strewn kitchen. She liked it better down here in the cozy mess, Hugh explained, and while she was recovering, Miss Peregrine had told her she could sleep wherever she liked. She beamed at me as I crossed the room and bent down to hug her. "I hope you're feeling better," I said, and though she didn't respond with words, she nodded and then kissed my cheek. The chicken in her arms clucked and ruffled its feathers possessively. Miss Peregrine asked for quiet. She waved Nor and me to the center of the room, and our friends sat around us on wobbly wooden chairs and on the floor. They all looked as anxious as I was feeling. I was anxious to get this over with, to tell our story for what I dearly hoped would be the last time. Anxious, too, about their reactions. Would they hate us? Would they despair? We told it. They listened in grim, stunned silence. When it was over, the air in the room felt leaden. Claire and Olive had scooted across the floor to Bronwyn and curled into balls against her legs. Claire was crying. Horace had crawled underneath the kitchen table. Hugh sat stone-faced on the daybed beside Fiona, who was holding his hand and staring at the floor. Emma. I cared most about her reaction. Emma had twisted her hair into a knot and was several shades paler than when Nora and I had started talking.
You left out that part at the end,
Emma said.
when you told it before.
She blew out her breath. So he is back, said Enoch. Him is him. He's back, I said, nodding grimly. Him is him.
Oh, my bird! Oh, my God! Oh, hell!
Horace moaned from under the kitchen table.
It was his face I dreamed.
Millard rose from where he'd been sitting. I'm broken-hearted. I'm shattered.
V's really gone?
Olive asked meekly. Nor nodded and said quietly, Yeah, she's gone. Olive ran to her, attached herself to Nor's side. Nor rubbed Olive's shoulder as the little girl began to cry. So, what does this mean for us? Hugh asked. What will happen?
Then it's Cole who's behind the desolations? Asked Bronwyn. Not Perplexes?
Yes, we think so, said Miss Peregrine.
Oh, absolutely he is, said Emma. I'm sure it's only a taste of what he can do, said Horace. And Amuse Bouche.
He's warming up the orchestra, Millard agreed. He'll be coming for us soon, and when he does, you can be sure he'll bring a lot more than bloody rain down on us.
We're doomed. We're sunk. This is the end of everything,
Claire wailed. He's only one man, said Addison, who had just noticed sitting by the door. And aren't most of his adherents dead or in prison? As for his hollow gast, can't young Jacob polish off whatever few remain?
You don't understand, Emma said. He's not a man anymore. Not really. You weren't there in the Library of Souls when he transformed into that thing.
I'm not allowed in most libraries, Addison said with his muzzle raised, so I boycott them on principle.
This isn't a normal library, said Millard. It's a repository for thousands of ancient, peculiar souls, many of them extremely powerful. It was hidden for millennia, ever since certain evil peculiars discovered how to break into it and steal its souls and their abilities for themselves. They tried to fashion themselves into gods, said Miss Peregrine, and they succeeded to a degree. But they warred with one another, causing famines, floods, plagues. They would have destroyed the whole world if our ancestor Imbrins hadn't managed to hide the library from them. It stayed hidden so long that its existence faded to legend until my brother broke into it again. We were able to collapse the loop and trap him there. We thought forever. Until, as you just heard, his top lieutenant resurrected him. A scenario that was prophesied long ago, said Horace, along with an apocalyptic war similar to those ancient ones that would leave the earth a cratered ruin, and us presumably dead.
Exceedingly dead, said Enoch. Cole despises us. So, let me get this straight. Addison raised an eyebrow. You believe he's absorbed some of these terrible powers for himself, and thus no longer needs an army of toadies and shadow creatures at his beck and call?
That's our general working presumption, yes, said Millard.
But none of you have actually seen it, said Addison, except the American boy in a cloud
and the boy cowering under the table there in a dream.
We saw him in the Library of Souls just before it collapsed, said Emma. He was a giant tree monster. Then, more quietly, it was a lot scarier than it sounds. And that was after absorbing just one soul jar, I said. Who knows how many he's absorbed since then? Maybe all of them, said Emma. She looked fearfully at Miss Peregrine. Is that even possible? Miss Peregrine pursed her lips. We're treading in the realm of the hypothetical. We simply don't know. If he did, then it'll be absolutely unstoppable, Horace cried. Don't lose your wig, said Enoch, rolling his eyes. I will lose my wig when it's appropriate, Horace shouted. He crawled out from under the table and stood next to it, gesticulating wildly. Cole had been trying to get his hands on Bentham's resurrection ingredients for years. He wanted this. He planned for it. To get trapped in the library and then to be brought back again. He would never have put himself through that kind of hell unless he was sure it would make him better, stronger, eviler. He's a lot more than a tree monster now, I can assure you, not because I dreamed it, because I have a brain. Everyone was staring. His lip and the rest of him began to quiver. I'll just go back under the table. No, you won't, said Emma, popping up to grab him. We won't be doing any more hiding, cowering, or running away. Right, Miss P? I was hoping one of you would say that, the Embrun replied.
Yes, I thought you people had more spine, said Addison.
Running away gets an unfairly bad rap, said Horace. The best defense is a good defense. Don't the American footballers say that?
He looked at me. I shook my head no.
No matter. It's true. Does it really make sense for all of us to stay here in Devil's Acre where he can get us in one swat? Not only does he know just where to find us, he knows this loop inside and out. It was his headquarters for years. We shouldn't ever show him we're scared, said Bronwyn, her expression curdling. Even if we are.
We're stronger here, together, said Hugh, and Fiona nodded along. Besides which, we can't abandon this place and let him have the Panlupticon again. It's our most powerful tool, and it could be his.
You're worried about what he'll do with the Panlupticon? Horace said, his voice rising again. He could be omnipotent, omnipresent at this point. What does he need a whole way of loop doors for? If he was omnipotent, we'd already be dead, said Emma. You must calm down a bit and try not to scare the young ones. I'm not scared, Olive announced, and banged her little fist against her chest.
Miss Peregrine cleared her throat.
There's one thing you must understand about my brother. I seriously doubt he wants to kill us. Well,
she winced briefly.
He may want to kill me, and perhaps Jacob as well, but not all of you, and not the rest of our people. He wants power and control. All he's ever dreamed of, his whole bitter life, was to be the king and emperor of peculiar kind, to be worshipped by all the peculiars who mocked him as a child.
So he'll just enslave us all, Enoch said. Make us lick his boots and sing his praises and go on retreats at the weekend to murder normals or whatever gives him his jollies. Emma climbed onto the kitchen table and stomped her foot, which made the silverware jump. Can everyone please stop spinning out these terrified worst-case scenarios? We're not seriously about to give up hope because we even understand the full dimensions of what we're up against. Call may be very powerful. We don't even know how much yet, but we are powerful too. Powerful enough to have spoiled his plans and dealt him bad setbacks 2 or 3 times now. And we're not just a handful of peculiar children anymore. We have something like 100 peculiars to fight him with. All our many allies who live here in the Acre and who are reachable via the Panlupticon. Not to mention all our abilities, all our experience, a dozen Imbrins, and Noor, said Horace. We have Noor. Noor's head snapped as if she'd been startled from sleep. Sure, she said. You have me. Whatever good I am.
What good is she?
Asked Addison. If the prophecy is to be believed, Horace said, his voice deepening, and given how much of it has already come to pass, I think it is, then Noor may be the most important asset we have in the coming struggle. Not without the other 6, Noor said.
I'm afraid I'm lost,
said Addison. You got used to it, muttered Claire. Horace went on. The prophecy says that together the 7 foretold peculiars, of which Noor is one, may close the door.
Notice it says may,
said Enoch, not will. To end the strife of war, 7 may seal the door, Horace recited. That's the best translation we have. There's also something about the emancipation of peculiarism, but that part's a bit fuzzier.
Seal the door to what?
Asked Addison. We don't know, said Horace. Addison stared him down.
Seal it how?
Don't know.
And do we know where the other 6 are?
Addison looked around at the rest of us. Miss Peregrine shook her head. Not yet. His voice rose.
What do you know, for pup's sake?
Not a great deal as of now.
All right, you've convinced me,
said Addison, collapsing to the floor and covering his eyes with his paws.
We are all in very serious trouble.
I'm trying to rock forward, put it on there.
Very good.
Yeah, Addison for the win. Before excusing herself to the emergency meeting of the Imbrin Council, Miss Peregrine made everyone promise not to breathe a word of what they'd heard to anyone else in the Acre. Not a soul, she warned, until we have a solid plan of action. It will only spread panic. And that's what you're going to do, Hugh said with just a touch of sarcasm. Develop a solid plan of action? Claire gave him a look that would curdle cheese. Yes, Mr. Apperson, Miss Peregrine said patiently. We are. She scanned our faces. It would be best if you all remained in the house until I returned. Do I make myself clear? I got the impression she was starting to regret telling everyone the news, that their reactions had been too scattered and frightened, and that we were all now filled with questions she was not prepared to answer, which only made us more anxious. And anxious, highly independent, peculiar children who were prone to ignoring her orders were a headache she didn't need. So we were to be sequestered until further notice. Maybe a few hours, maybe longer,
depending on how long the Embrins meeting lasted. After she left, there was some grumbling about how Miss Peregrine still didn't trust us and treated us like children. Claire, who always took the Embrin's side, argued that we were still children, and as long as we kept doing things like disappearing into the Panlupticon without telling anyone, she gave me a long glare. Maybe we did deserve to be treated as such. That sparked a debate about physical versus actual age and whether living in an unchanging loop for 80 years was anything like living in the real world, and what effect it had on the state of one's mind and heart, at which point I started to feel overwhelmingly tired and snuck upstairs to sleep. I collapsed in what I assumed was Horace's bed. It was the only one that was made, the corners tucked tight, pillows fluffed. I lay on my side facing the window, watching ash fall gently while listening to a voice murmur from a small radio on the nightstand. A DJ was reading the morning news. I wanted to turn it off, but the knob was out of reach, and I'd gone boneless with exhaustion. I wondered idly how a radio inside the loop could pick up a station from outside it. And then I heard the DJ say, "In rugby, the Devil's Acre Cannibals crushed the Battersea Emu Rasps for the 4th consecutive win this season." The broadcast was coming from inside the loop. How long had Devil's Acre had a radio station? The DJ had a voice like an oil slick, low, hypnotic, and I listened to sleepy fascination as he went on about peculiar sports for a while. In a stunning upset, Miss Flycatcher's Aberdeen Eels were forced to give up the bog swimming title they won last month against Miss Titmouse's Killarney Blighters after judges decided that the Eels' top swimmer having gills was a violation of the Poseidon rule. In local news, the lead and the understudy in Miss Grackle's production of The Grass Menagerie have fallen ill with a touch of plague, so tonight's performance has been cancelled. In weather, the Desolations continue with a squall of horned snails reported on Attenuated Avenue in the late hours of last night, and flurries of ash expected through the afternoon. Still no definite word on what's causing the disturbances, though plenty of rumors. Stay safe, peculiar folk. It's weird out there. And not in a good way. This is Amos Dexter, and you're listening to WPEC, the voice of Devil's Acre. I've got a pile of wax to spin you through the morning. Let's kick it off with a cozy old favorite of mine, the unsettling disharmonies of Krzysztof Penderecki's Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima. Jesus Christ. The whole thing's a fucking mess. Thank you. Tea. A piece of classical music began to play. I think it was music anyway. Except the violins sounded like they were being tortured in hell, which finally motivated me to scooch all the way to the edge of the bed, stretch my arm out from under the womb-like covers, and switch it off. And then I noticed a small picture leaned against the wall behind the radio, a framed photo of Amos Dexter, signed, "To Horace," by the man himself. He seemed to be winking at the camera from behind dark glasses while managing an ice cream cone and a cigarette in the same hand. I fell asleep dreaming about an orchestra of tuxedoed musicians burning alive while they played, and woke up sometime later to a vibrating bed. Here's a... Yeah, right? That's kind of what I was going for, but like a little bit more 50s. Anyway, here's Amos Dexter and the signature that Horace has on his nightstand.
Mommy.
I like that Horace has a celebrity crush.
My man, dog.
And the picture is just him eating an ice cream cone and smoking a cigarette at the same time.
Bro, that's an aspiration level of multitasking right there.
A fucking Horace.
Enoch had plopped down next to me. I know you need your beauty rest, Portman, but there's a hollow guest at the door who seems really keen to chat. What? I shot upright, covers flying off me. Just kidding, but it's getting boring down there without you. Goodness, you're high-strung. I punched him on the arm. Don't do that! He shoved me and I nearly fell off the bed. Can't you tell when I'm joking? Next time it'll be true and I won't believe you. You'll get eaten and you'll deserve it. I heard feet on the stairs and a few seconds later Emma burst in. Ulysses Critchley from Temporal Affairs just came to fetch us. They've called a meeting. I slid my feet out of the bed. The Imbrans? Yes, but it's not just for us. The whole Acre's supposed to come. They're gonna tell everyone now? I suppose they want to beat Call to the punch? Her fingers drummed the wall. Get your shoes on. Okay. Honestly, the radio announcer, not even the worst part of this. I will go ahead and warn you. For everybody who has a problem, trigger warning for this chapter, a little bit of body horror. Horace gets a little too detailed as a true crime girly and just says just a little bit of graphicness. If anybody has a problem with it, I'm going to make an announcement right before the part so that you don't miss any of the content. But you can, like, plug your ears for that section and I'll wave at you to come back in when it's over if you want. You can turn the volume down or something and then I'll wave at you and then you'll know that it's over. But Horace is a true crime girly, and he just sees a lot of stuff, and he's got to share it with people who sometimes don't want to hear it. Haven't ever been there.
Here, trade you.
Toast?
Trade you. Yay, toast.
Yeah, toast. We're going to start in just a second after this minor toast break. Oh, yeah, little buddy. Oh, you can curl up there if you want. If you want to hang out up there. Totally hang out up there.
There's some more tea.
Thank you. Probably toast purring.
I finally have feeling back in my hand.
Good toast. Yeah, toast. All right. Horace, honestly, I fucking love Horace. I fucking love Horace. He's the most real out of all of them. He's like, I say we disappear into the night. Let's not deal with it. That's what Dad said. Dad was like, oh, she's a little baby goth that doesn't know how to stop her eyeliner. And I was like, that's adorable. All right. Chapter 6. This one is gonna be rough. I'm just warning you guys. Horace would be in book club. Yeah. A mandatory all-acre assembly had never been called before. Instructions rang out from loudspeakers for everyone to drop what they were doing and attend, and peculiars were streaming into the streets from every building we passed. A great swarm converged on the lecture hall where it was to be held. The line to enter was long, and as we jostled into the queue and shuffled closer, Millard noted that it wasn't just the size of the crowd that was causing the slowdown, but that a pair of home guards were searching every single person before they were admitted inside. What are they looking for? Weapons? Asked Nor. We are weapons, Hugh replied. Some of us more than others, said Emma. One of the guards started patting down Enoch's thighs. Aw, no kiss first? He said. What's this? The guard said, peering into a cloudy glass jar he'd pulled from Enoch's jacket. A murderer's heart pickled in Himalayan salt brine. The guard bobbled the jar, nearly dropping it. Careful, you clod, that was a gift. He snatched it from the guard's hands. Let us through already. Don't you know who we are? The guard reared back. I don't care if you're an Imbrun's grandmother. Every single person is to be... The other guard leaned to him and whispered something in his ear, and the first guard gritted his teeth, unhappily swallowed his pride, and waved us through. Go on. He gave me a forced smile and said, Apologies, Mr. Portman. I didn't see you there. Emma patted Enoch's shoulder. Sorry, E. Guess you're just part of the entourage. Enoch laughed and shook his head. As a final precaution, we were made to stand in front of a strange young man with misaligned eyes and let him stare at us. Sorry, even you, the second guard had said to me. So I let the young man stare, his eyes roving up and down my body before coming to rest on my face. What's he doing? I asked. Scanning your intentions, Millard said. Be they good or ill? I felt a mild heat building in my forehead where the young man's eyes were focused. I was about to complain when he looked at the guards and nodded. We were allowed inside, then ushered down a stone hallway flickering with gaslights and echoing with the murmurs of a crowd. And here is the staring man, the guard.
Don't give yourself a concussion, kitten.
Sometimes we be showing pictures in this jazz. And these are all real photos, by the way, in case you're new and didn't know that. These are all photos that he's just used from different collections he's found over the years. And like, imagine that's you, and you've been dead for a while, but like, we just be using people's photos. Anyway.
My goodness.
Imagine you're in the afterlife and you found out some dipshit used your photo in his book. Like, oh, that's what I mean to say. But, like, just imagine. Anyway, moving on. I sometimes have that thought when I'm reading these. Nor walked beside me. That was extremely thorough, she said suspiciously. Yeah, I feel like I would be okay if the book was good enough. You know what I mean? They must be worried about crazies, I said. I don't blame them, replied Horace. Imagine if someone set off a bomb in this place. That'd be 90% of the Imbrans in Great Britain, not to mention several from around the world, wiped out in a blink. Thanks for that comforting thought, Nora replied. I'm feeling much calmer now. Enoch teased me the rest of the way down the hall, bowing and scraping until I turned red from embarrassment. Apologies, Mr. Portman. Right this way, Mr. Portman. There's a spot of mud on your boots, Mr. Portman. Mr. Portman, might I lick it clean for you? Don't be an ass, Nora said. He never asked anyone to treat him like that.
Ow. Ow.
Enoch bowed lower. I'm so sorry if I ever offended you, madam. She gave him a playful shove, and he pretended to stumble into the wall, which he apologized and bowed to, and then we were all laughing. It was good to laugh, and to see Nor laugh, if only for a moment. The passageway ended, and we came into the top level of a large lecture hall, which wasn't really a lecture hall at all, Horace informed me. Trigger warning, here is the bit. I'll wave to you after it's over. Okay. It was an old operating theater designed so that an audience could observe surgeons at their grisly work. The seating was level upon level of rough wooden benches arranged concentrically and looking down on a circular floor below, at the center of which was a body-sized platform. Gas lights shone everywhere, and giant chandeliers hung from the ceiling and from iron sconces that ringed the walls. We descended to the second level and sat on a long, curving bench that had been reserved for us. The rest of the theater was filling up fast. "This room was built as part of a medical school," Horace said, "but the whites used it to do horrible experiments on peculiars, grafting animal parts onto human bodies, trying to create hybrid hologas, switching people's brains just to see what would happen. See the metal grate below the platform there? That was to catch all of the—" "I get it," I said, holding up a hand. "Sorry. Sometimes the only way to get bad pictures out of my head is to share them with other people, which I know is selfish." "It's okay," I said, feeling a little guilty now. "You can tell me." No, I don't have to. I know it's disgusting." He was quiet for a few seconds. His knee jiggled. He looked like he might burst. I looked at him. "Go ahead." "It was to catch all the entrails in the blood," he said quickly. "That's what the grate was for, and the smell was supposedly indescribable." He let out a sigh. "Feel better?" He gave me a sheepish grin. "Profoundly."
Well, that sounds like one of our conversations right there.
No, it does. It's like, no, man, I know it's like, nah, maybe we shouldn't talk about the... So the thing about the toy box killer...
Yeah.
It's very much that where you're like, whoa, Horace. Anyway, we all back in? All right. Normal convo, but just in case anybody has, like, medical trauma or something, I don't want to, like, you know, sometimes you just gotta info dump to feel better. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want anybody to, like, if you have body horror issues, you don't need to listen. Sometimes you don't need to hear stuff. The hall was almost half full. There were over 100 peculiars staying in the Acre now, and nearly all of them were in attendance. Everyone was freaked out by the Desolations, and they weren't about to miss what they hoped would finally be an explanation. To my surprise, I recognized a lot of people in the crowd. Ulysses Critchley had gone to sit beside his black-suited cohort from Temporal Affairs, who were noisily shushing the people around them. Sitting across from us was Miss Grackle's theater troupe, who had just come from practice, and were still dressed from the neck down in outlandish animal costumes. In the row below them were Sharon and his burly cousins, all in matching black robes, though only Sharon wore his hood raised. The 4 cousins never did. They had fine silver hair, but their faces looked young, and their strong jaws and high cheekbones were attracting long looks, though the cousins, whispering among themselves, hardly seemed to notice. Beside them squirmed a clutch of half-fish ditch dwellers, Itch, his wife, and their 2 scaly kids. They sat grumbling in ill-fitting clothes and a spreading puddle of water that had made a little stream down the steps, occasionally spritzing themselves from a muddy seltzer bottle and looking like they were counting the seconds until they could strip off their clothes and return to the ditch. At the top level of the room stood 6 home guards and the young man who had scanned us with his eyes. They were watching the crowd intently. I was surprised, too, to notice some Americans. Antoine Lamoth, too, proud to sit, wearing a raccoon coat that was stirring on its own. A lanky bodyguard in Western-style chaps and a fringed leather jacket. A few more from his northerner clan whom I recognized from Marrowbone, but whose names I didn't know. I was even more surprised to spot a few of the Diviner kids. Paul, Fern, and Aline, all of them in their Sunday best, Paul looking nervous and the girls surveying the scene coolly in wide-brimmed hats. I made a mental note to find them after the assembly and welcome them, and ask how they'd reached the Acre. It was no small journey getting here from their loop in Portal, Georgia. It would have meant either a plane ride or that same long road trip to New York that my friends and I had made to reach the Acres connector loop there.
Thank you. Welcome.
A few rows away were even more Americans I hadn't seen in a while, including several of Dogface's so-called untouchables. The boy with the pulsating and possibly sentient neck boil, the half-woman, Hattie the half-sea, who sat propped in the lap of a tusk-cheeked warthog girl, and two others who I'd only met briefly and in the dark. They sat whispering to one another, pointing at this peculiar or that. I got the feeling they were sizing us up, and I couldn't help but wonder what they thought. Emma saw me looking at them.
I don't know why the Embrons let them into the Acre, she said. They may have helped us a little when things got really dicey, but they're still just a bunch of mercenaries as far as I'm concerned.
I trust them about as far as I can throw 'em, said Enoch.
Me too, agreed Bronwyn.
Enoch rolled his eyes. You could throw them a long way.
It's true, she said. I have a trusting nature.
I was wondering whether Dogface himself was here when I heard someone bark my name, and I turned to see him coming down the row above us, mouth curling in a furry grin.
Well, if it isn't the celebrated Jacob Portman and his sycophantic friends, you've always got everyone in a tizzy, don't you? Where is he? Where's he disappeared to now? Especially your many female admirers.
He winked at Emma, and my jaw clenched while her color deepened.
What do you want? She snapped at him.
What kind of greeting is that? He said. Didn't I save your life the last time I saw you?
The last time we saw you, you extorted us for an exorbitant sum of money, just to do what any decent peculiar would have done out of kindness, said Emma.
I never claimed to be decent. And by the by, the interest on the half-paid debt of yours is fast accruing. But I ain't here to collect. We just came to pay our respects before the show begins. Coming up behind Dogface were Angelica, pursued as usual by a small dark cloud and an air of grumpy affliction, and by Rec Donovan, lanky in a suave brown suit and red tie, his hair a pomaded wave. Watching them, I realized I had no idea who else was in Angelica's gang of peculiars, nor what Rec's peculiar ability was, other than extreme overconfidence.
I thought you all hated one another, Emma said.
Angelica looked down her nose.
We can put aside our differences when the situation demands it.
And what's the situation? I asked.
That you've come here to live with us in the Acre?
Asked Olive, smiling. Olive was automatically nice to everyone, and clearly had no idea that these Americans had, at one point, tried to buy us. Rec broke out laughing. Live here, with you. His glancing Irish accent turned with you into with you. Angelica shot him a black look as if they were supposed to be on their best behavior, and Rec stifled his laugh. Leo Burnham couldn't be here, he said, so he ordered us to come on his behalf. He's asked us to study how your Embrons run things, observe your... He cast a glance around his and couldn't hide his repulsion. Way of life. To see whether you made any innovations, politically or organizationally, we might want to adopt for ourselves, Rex said. Whether they can take us down more like, Enoch whispered in my ear. Come to see how the other half lives, eh? Said Hugh. Squalidly, from the looks of it, Dogface countered. Hugh spat a bee at him. Dogface ducked as it zinged past his ear, curved around his head, and boomeranged back into Hugh's mouth. It's a lot more civilized than the way you barbarians do things, I can tell you that, Hugh said, chuckling as Dogface growled at him.
Oh no.
No, my coaster. Thank you. Across the big room, one of the ditch dwellers belched loudly enough for everyone to hear, and a fountain of dirty water sprayed from his mouth onto Sharon's cousins, who turned around and threatened to spit roast every last one of them. It's the most singularly hideous loop I've ever set Cloud in, Angelica burst out, then looked relieved, as if holding that in another moment might have killed her. You can't judge our way of life by this place, Emma said irritably. So many of our loops were destroyed when the Whites raided them a few months ago, and we've all been shoved together here like survivors on a lifeboat. We've hardly begun rebuilding. Sure, Rex said. And when that's done, what? We go back to the way things were, said Claire. There was such hope in her voice that none of us had the heart to crush it. But it was utter fantasy in light of what the Embrons were about to announce. Dogface knelt down to Claire's level. And you liked the way things were, he said in a childish voice, with the Embrons treating you like school children. They don't, Claire protested. Don't they? Angelica said. We'd have more say in things than we used to, Bronwyn said defensively. Rex's substantial brow shot up. The Embrons promised, said Claire. Dogface stifled another laugh. I was getting impatient for the Embrons' presentation to begin. Emma stood up from her seat and squared her shoulders to confront Dogface. And do you think it's so much better in America? With a few strongmen acting like gang lords, controlling everyone with threats and intimidation, forced to steal to earn your living, warring and fighting with one another all the time, afraid to cross into rival territory for fear of being taken prisoner? How could anyone live like that? Angelica tossed her head proudly. Spoken like someone who would never make it a week in peculiar New York. Rec was more tactful. I'm not saying there isn't room for improvement, but that's why we've come. But at least we call the shots inside our own loops. You're trapped in a vicious cycle of vice and crime, Millard said. Your freedom is an illusion. Dogface chuckled. At least we get to choose our own bedtime, you coddled, infantile. We didn't come to fight with you, Rec interrupted. Dogface sulked. I did. Can't you just be decent? Claire said to him. You'd have an easier time in life, don't you think? Dogface's perpetual grin vanished. When you look like my untouchables and I do, there is no easy time. Maybe pretty little girls like you can afford to be decent. He said it with utter disdain. But I cannot, so I'm a businessman, a survivor. They call me a stain on the world, a cockroach with fur. That's all. I'll be the cockroach still standing when this world crumbles to dust. He turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and I take issue with the notion that we're forced to steal. For me, it's a passion. He opened his hand and dangled from it a small locket on a silver chain. Hey, Olive shouted, that's mine. He grinned, dropped it into her lap, and left, taking the other two Americans with him.
I know. Passed out again.
Most unpleasant, said Horace, waving his hand in the air as if to dispel a stench. They've got some nerve, Emma said. If it weren't for the Imbrans, they'd all be at war right now, killing one another over some dusty old argument.
Forget them, Enoch said. Looks like we're about to start. On the operating stage below, a door had opened, and one by one, the whole Imbran council filled out. The crowd fell quiet as 9 Imbrans filed soberly onto the stage. Miss Peregrine was first, looking even more serious than usual. Then came Miss Cuckoo, whose gold pantsuit and metallic silver hair reminded me of David Bowie. Miss Babax followed her in a white dress and white gloves, a bold choice for the filthy loop. Then came Miss Blackbird with her third eye open, scanning the room for danger. Miss Loon and Miss Bobolink, who I knew little about, stuck close to her heels and were trailed by Miss Gannett from Ireland. Addison stood on his hind legs and raised a paw in salute as Miss Wren entered. And lastly came Miss Avocet, wheeled onto the stage by Francesca and Bettina, her 2 favorite Imbrans in training. Esmeralda Avocet was the most senior and powerful Imbran of them all, the mentor who had trained most of Great Britain's living Imbrans and all those before us now. But she was looking older and more feeble than ever, a skinny wisp of a woman cocooned in a thick shawl. She looked almost as frail as she had the first time I'd met her, when she'd flown into Miss Peregrine's house with shocking news of a hologast raid, and worse than when I'd seen her earlier in the day, as if whatever the Imbrans had discussed in their meeting had sapped much of her remaining energy. I just hoped she could hold it together long enough to get through the assembly. Last through the door were 4 more home guards, who took up positions around the stage and stood at attention. Francesca and Bettina left, closing the little door behind them, and Miss Peregrine paced to the center of the operating stage, stood at the gruesome body platform as if it were a lectern, and began to speak.
My fellow Peculiars, some of you may have guessed why we've called you here today, and others will be wondering. I do not intend to keep you long in suspense. Only recently we were celebrating our victory over the Whites at the Battle of Grave Hill. We fought bravely and prevailed, and I can speak for all the Imbrans present today when I say that we are intensely proud of you. Those who fought, as well as those who persevered here in Devil's Acre despite the danger, who with tenacity and firmness of purpose kept working to rebuild our loops and our society, even while menaced by such a dire threat.
She paused. I could feel everyone in the room lean forward in their seats on tenterhooks.
But I'll tell it plainly. A terrible thing we tried mightily to prevent has come to pass.
Her voice boomed, aided by the unusual acoustics of the room.
One White escaped our grasp at Grave Hill. His name is Percival Murnau, and he was Cole's top lieutenant. We thought we had stopped him from achieving the Whites' goal, and while we dealt him setbacks and decimated his fighting force, I'm sorry to tell you that we failed to put an end to his plans.
Whispers rippled through the room.
2 days ago, desolations began to plague the Acre. There's been a great deal of speculation about what might be causing them. Now we can be certain. 2 days ago, Percival Murnau resurrected Cole, my brother, the leader of the Whites.
Murmurs turned into shouts, shouts into cries of despair. The Imbrans pleaded for quiet. Slowly, the crowd settled to a volume that allowed Miss Peregrine to continue. Our fiercest adversary has returned in some form, and while all but a handful of the other whites have been killed or captured, Call himself is more powerful than ever. How much more powerful, we don't yet know. The murmurs were growing louder again, and she raised her voice. But he is still just one person, and as of now there have been no reports of attacks by Call on any loop, any peculiar.
And when the attacks begin, a familiar voice boomed. The crowd's gaze shifted to Lamoth as he rose imploringly to his feet. What will you do? Miss Cuckoo stepped forward to stand beside Miss Peregrine.
We've organized a defense for Devil's Acre that will be impenetrable, we believe.
You believe? Someone called out, and I saw Miss Cuckoo wince at her own word choice. How could you let this happen? Another person yelled.
We have everything under control, Miss Blackbird shouted, jittering hands cupped around her mouth, but she could hardly be heard.
Next to me, Emma was shaking her head. The assembly was in danger of slipping into chaos. I could hear people around me shouting, not just at the Imbrans, but at one another, arguing about who was to blame and what should be done. One thing was clear. These people needed leaders. Though the fractious and diverse peculiars of Devil's Acre had complaints about the Imbrans, they would be lost without them. Then Sharon's thundering cry cut through the noise. Quiet! The crowd settled again. I, too, have questions, he said, booming a bit more softly. I, too, am angry, but now isn't the time to dissect the lapses that led to this moment. There will be time for that once the crisis has passed. We may not long to organize a defense, and if we waste time squabbling, we will live to regret it, or die to regret it, as the case may be. No. Please. He extended his long arm graciously toward the Imbrans, and a rat tumbled from his sleeve. Let the good lady speak. Miss Peregrine gave Sharon a nod of thanks, then gripped the edges of the body platform.
We Imbrans don't claim to be infallible. I wish we had predicted this. I wish we could have prevented it. But we did not. I readily acknowledge our error.
This seemed to cool some tempers in the crowd. I glanced at Nor. She was staring at the floor, looking ill.
Now, I won't ask you not to worry, Miss Peregrine went on, voice rising. But I insist you not surrender to fear. I won't insult your intelligence by telling you this will be easy. But no good thing ever was. We have lived under the shadow of the Whites and the Hologas for a century, and it should be no surprise that such evil cannot be shed in a few weeks or in a few minor engagements. Our victory at Grave Hill, savage as it was perhaps too tidy. The final trial is yet to come, a battle the magnitude of which we can't yet know. But this I do know. Miss Peregrine let go of the platform and strode to the front of the stage, hands clasped behind her like a military commander. He will come for us. He will come here. This loop was my odious brother's home for many years.
and you can be sure he's still furious that he and his people were driven from it. But we will not allow him to take back Devil's Acre. We cannot and will not relinquish control of our only refuge, nor of the Panopticon. We will make this loop impenetrable, and then we will find a way to drive him back into the underworld he came from. But we need your help. Stand with us. Stay and fight. She pounded the air with her fist. Our resolve is strong. We will not let him in. We will not. For some time, a low rumbling sound had been building. But I'd been so entranced by Miss Peregrine that I'd hardly registered it. Now I could feel it shaking the floor, and all at once it doubled in strength and was joined by a sudden wind that blew out all the gaslights and plunged the hall into darkness. There were screams, but they were drowned out almost immediately by an overwhelming voice. "Get out!" it bellowed. "Get out of my house! Get out while you still can!" The voice seemed to come from everywhere and produced a sour stink that blew with each syllable from the center of the room. People began scrambling to escape, tripping over one another in the dark. I heard crashes and screams that sounded like people tumbling downstairs. "Stay put, or we'll be trampled," shouted Emma, and I felt her hands pushing my shoulders down. I turned to Nor and pulled her down too, and she pulled Fiona next to her. Thank you. "I am born again," the voice thundered so loud it seemed to shake my eyes in their sockets. And then from the darkness there shone a sudden, brilliant light at the center of the room. A face, giant, blue, and glowing, that hovered in the air. It was Call's face. His face and nothing more, 10 feet high and sneering. His thin lips and beaked nose, his mouth open and blunt round teeth shaking as he cackled at the pandemonium he had caused. Everyone was falling over one another, climbing, clambering for the steps and the door and outside, but the steps were jammed with splayed and reeling bodies, and the door was blocked. The Embrons directly below Call on the stage had scattered to the walls, but had not fled. The home guards were stunned, frozen in place. The laughing stopped. Call grinned and said more softly, "How's that? Have I got your attention?" There was a sudden bang as one of the home guards fired a weapon at Call, but the projectile passed through his ghostly face and ricocheted off a wall. "Silly man, I'm not actually here," Cole said. "But I will be. I am coming. I am inexorable. I am inevitable." His voice was rising again. "I have harnessed the power of the ancient souls, and I will use it to crush all who stand against me." Just when I thought my eardrums would break, his voice fell to a childlike wheedle. "Oh, jeepers creepers, the bad man's coming to get us. What do we do, Papa? What do we do?" Call's face turned slightly, and his voice deepened into a loomy caricature of a 1950s era dad. "It's simple, Johnny. We need to choose the path of righteousness." The demented kid voice again. "What's that, Papa?" The dad. "Well, Call is our God now, and it's a real good thing he's a merciful God. You're a sinner, Johnny boy, and so am I. We've been worshipping these half-bird charlatans instead of him all these years. Oh, it was a bad thing we did, denying our true natures, our true power, our destiny to sit at the head of the human table rather than hiding underneath it. The human what, Papa? Through it all, Miss Peregrine was shouting to be heard over Call's insane spectacle. He can't hurt us. It's only a projection. Everyone stay calm. The human table. Why, we peculiars are the most evolved humans that ever were, and here we've been hiding in loops rather than running the show for 2,000 years. Isn't that a shame? Yes, Papa, that must make Call so mad. Don't be scared, Johnny. All you've got to do is ask forgiveness and pledge your undying loyalty to him, and you'll be spared. Gosh, really? Well, there's one more little thing. Call's face flickered, then appeared to melt, skin sliding off bone into a glowing puddle in the air, then swirling up again to form a new face. Mine. I went cold, certain I was hallucinating. The wheedling child's voice disappeared, replaced by the low, rattling snarl of a demon summoned from hell. Kill the boy! I heard Emma gasp, nor clasp my arm. The face changed again, the skin bubbling to mush, then forming a different face. Nor's. Kill the girl! Now it was my turn to clasp Nor's hand. She was silent, grim-faced. The image of Nor changed quickly back to Call, and he said in his own mocking voice, And for extra brownie points. His image exploded into 1,000 points of blue light, then rapidly coalesced into a picture of our Imbrans, the 9 who cringed on the stage below, mirrored in blue above. Kill them all! Call screamed, the voice so loud I slapped my hands over my ears. So loud I could see the glass ceiling rattling, threatening to shatter. I heard screams from the crowd, and then the Imbrans' blue doubles turned into birds. Call's voice, his own again, cackled and said, Crawl away, little bugs. Fly away, little birds. Scurry and scatter. Fly, fly, fly. Get out of my kitchen. The spectral image of the birds flew upward toward the glass ceiling, and as they reached it, they evaporated into nothing, and the ceiling shattered. 100,000 shards of glass rained down on us, and everyone was cut to ribbons and shrieking. Emma screaming with a head full of broken glass, Nor screaming as blood ran down her arms and neck, Horace screaming as he spun around, taking in the horrific scene, and then the image before me flickered, and the screams began to fade, and the sky above the broken glass ceiling darkened. Strange. I don't remember a glass ceiling in this room. And then the gas lights around the room flared to life again, and there was no glass ceiling above us now. Broken or otherwise. Just a normal, painted one. And we had not been cut to ribbons. It had all been an illusion. The gas lights brightened. Call was gone. Then other sounds. Cries of relief, cries of pain from those who'd fallen on the stairs and in the doorway, who'd been caught in the crush. The sobs of the overwhelmed, the terrified. Claire was crying softly as Bronwyn cradled her, nor had my hand in a death grip.
The Embrons begged for calm. Miss Peregrine, now wielding a megaphone, declared that Call's manifestation had been merely visual, that he was only trying to scare us and to divide us, and we could not allow him to do that. She again assured the crowd that the Embrons were working on a defense for the Acre that would shortly be ready, then handed the megaphone to Miss Wren, who began to direct an orderly exit from the hall, one level at a time. The sobs and cries began to subside. The Embrons climbed up from the pit and went to console people individually. Their assurances were easier to dismiss from a distance, as a passive member of a skeptical audience, but in person, up close and one-on-one, you believed it. It's why in Embrons' wards never numbered more than 10 or 15. They would never win us over as a mob. Their work would be accomplished going house to house, peculiar to peculiar, methodically undoing Call's terror, one person at a time. As we waited for Miss Wren to call our row, I noticed someone was walking against the crowd's flow, elbowing and shouldering his way toward us. It was the cockeyed scanner boy. He was one level below ours, and when he came even with us, he climbed up onto the lower bench and stood atop it, his head inclined toward me, wearing a blank look. "Are you gonna ask me something?" I said to him. He reached behind him and pulled something from his waistband. I had only just registered that someone was shouting, "He's got a knife!" when I saw it in his hand, long and curved, and he lunged at Nor. She dove across my body as he buried the knife in the bench where she'd just been. The boy's hat fell off as he yanked at the knife. Someone grabbed him by the waist as he flailed. Horace slapped him in the head, and Nor kicked him in the face. Soon a couple of home guards had separated him from the knife and were dragging him away by the arms. He was silent, not even struggling. "Are you okay?" I said to Nor, and she nodded and lifted herself off me. Then Miss Peregrine was there, asking if we were hurt. We said no. She looked relieved, but only fleetingly. As she looked past us to scan the room, I saw a new kind of fear in her eyes. It said everything had changed. And that is the end of chapter 6. And you see what I meant now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot going on.
Oh, it's insane.
For my vocal cords specifically. Which is why we're going to stop there. It was a lot. I had to sound a lot of different people.
Also,
I didn't think about it when I gave them all these voices.
I would just like to point this out.
That's adorable. That's so cute. That's the cutest little cat.
She's been like this for the past hour.
She is content to like sit right on your chest. She's so cute. She'll just lay there. She won't move.
But she hasn't.
Yeah. So well behaved the entire time. That is an hour and a half worth of content that she just sort of like for.
She's been napping.
Yeah, that was really intense, especially like with the. I knew Call was gonna be the worst of it, and I was like, it starts with the radio announcer, and then goes all the way through every accent in the book. They had to give all the people with accents at least one line, if not more.
Uh-huh.
I gotta growl the entire time while I'm doing Dogface. I'm like, if I do that, I'm gonna wreck the whole thing. I'm gonna wreck it.
See, I thought you were gonna go like deep with Call. Like that level for his demonic voice.
That's the thing, is it fluctuates, but he never really has a specifically deep voice.
No, I meant
he
like
goes from
the demonic voice when he goes, kill the boy.
I couldn't. That's the thing, is I knew I couldn't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
He freaking wrecked your voice already.
Yeah, well, I did all of that shit leading up to it.
I know.
So then it's like, you get all the deep parts.
My
and
entire
then
arm is numb.
I can't do the growly bits anymore.
Sorry. Can we scooch a little bit? Can I swap out hands? Yeah, maybe.
And again, I strain my vocal cords on a regular basis. Because my normal register is down here, and then I normally pitch it up.
Yeah.
Because people treat me different when I talk different.
Which is stupid.
Yeah. But I've gotten, like, used to it, to the point now where I just sort of unconsciously always pitch it up. And if I'm just, like, exhaling now, like they say you can tell your, like, bass line by just, like, exhaling, this is it. This is the most relaxed.
Dude.
But if I growl while I do that, it hurts.
Uh-huh.
Which I can't growl while I do it. But that's what I was doing for Dogface in the beginning, and then I was like, fuck me, I can't do it for Demon Voice after I do all the rest of the... Because then I immediately have to go from Dogface to Olive. So then I'm like, and it's just a fast switch. And I can't handle that.
Can't you just be decent?
It goes right from the lowest bass character I have to the highest pitch character I have. And I was like, why did you have to give Olive these lines? Why did Olive have to say it?
Because she is freaking precious.
And I'm like, fucking Christ, because she's the best character.
She's so precious. Can I pet your beans? Yeah, you're kind of okay with me messing with your beans.
So what do we think? How do we feel? What do we think about the chapter? How are we all feeling with Call's new projection powers of gaslighting?
Literally.
As that's not Chekhov's gaslight at the beginning. They're like, it's lit by gaslight. I'm like, is it? It's Chekhov's gaslight. It was a fun time.
I have a present for you.
Go through all the registers. Yeah, exactly. No, every single one I got. All the registers I got. Every single person with an accent.
Release.
All we need's a
present.
freaking Australian in here, and we're running the gamut of offending everyone. Isn't that great? Oh. Kitty exploring. Kitty doing kitten stuff. Kitty. Oh. That's so cute.
Rubbing her face against your head.
Little baby.
Oh.
She likes neck rubs. She likes to rub herself against your neck. Is what
Aggressively.
Aggressively.
That's why I said you're going to give yourself a concussion earlier.
So cute. Look at this little baby. Look at this little adorable. Look at Toast. Toast. And I was like, honestly, yeah, screenshot Toast. I was like, this is less of Toast and more of like crustini. And Dave was like, tell me I'm wrong.
Actually, she's more of a crouton than Toast at this point.
Crouton. So cute. Get a good screenshot. I'm gonna put my head back, or she'll look for a new place to like burrow into my neck.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. Such a cute little cat. Little baby. Small baby. Small crouton. Small crouton. Christini size. No nothing. Small baby. Good baby. Yeah? I won't wiggle my ear on you anymore. I'll just rest here. Is that better? I just rest here just like this. Oh yeah. The highest pitch meow. Yeah, so adorable. Like a little squeak. Like a little squeak. I'm gonna go down. I will protect you from the slide. Oh, well, no, you just want to jump. Alright.
No, what she wants is Dad's chest again.
Yeah. She likes to go from person to person and switch neck hibernation areas. On Dad's neck now, and Dad's like, I'm sunburned.
It's fine. It's fine.
Did
She
you
only
put-
weighs a pound.
Did you put aloe vera on there?
Not since I got over here.
No. She says I fly. Yeah, she does. She'll just sort of. All right. We are on my favorite cat. Must alternate the neck temperature. Oh yeah, that's what she's doing. She's also so small. I'm like afraid she's gonna be freezing in here. Like she has fur, and I'm like it's so cold in here. It's so cold. With the AC on and the door closed, there's no air circulation. So, anyway, my favorite cat. Anybody want to hazard a guess? Don't say it. You can see the page. We're going to do cat facts. If you're new here, it's where I tell you a fact about cats. It's in the name. I can't explain it any better than that. I'll read you some stuff about cats. Now, what do you think my favorite is?
It's toast.
It's toast. No. It's
Yeah,
not.
toast.
Yeah, toast. No. Breed. Cat breed. I've talked multiple times about wanting one, despite the price.
That's probably the same as mine. But I don't say mine that often.
I want one. Somebody guess. You gotta try. At least one person gotta guess. Somebody gotta know it. You gotta know enough about me by now to know what cat I've talked repeatedly about wanting. Because they're so
Just babies. They're just babies. Just babies.
It's the fancy one that hates people.
Alright. Be nice about Nancy.
You be nice about Nancy. Yeah.
She's just selective in her group of friends.
Yeah, she's just really... she chooses when she wants pets. No, it's Maine Coon. I love Maine Coons.
Mm-hmm.
The fancy one that hates people. So great. Great, succinct explanation there. Alright. Maine Coon cats are one of the most famous breeds of the internet era, probably because of photos of people holding improbably huge and fluffy examples of this already large breed. The cats in these photos usually look docile and happy to be carried around despite their size. In fact, the Maine Coon is the largest breed. In body type and coat, the Maine Coon cat looks similar to the Karelian bobtail cat, with long, shaggy hair and a variety of colors. Both breeds originated in snowy climates, but the Maine Coon cat is thought to be the result of local breeding between American short-haired cats and long-haired cats brought from northern Europe. Maine Coon cats have been recorded for at least 150 years, and it was a Maine Coon cat named Cozy who won the first cat show held in North America in the late 1800s. For a time, Maine Coon cats were displaced by long-hair cat breeds brought from overseas, and the breed was depleted nearly to extinction. It was preserved by dedicated breeders and kept a low profile for several decades, during which it wasn't even formally recognized as a breed by the Cat Fanciers Association. Today, the Maine Coon cat is one of the most popular breeds again. Maine Coons are prone to a couple of genetic conditions like heart disease and hip dysplasia, but overall they're healthier than some of the long-haired cats who, at one time, threatened to replace them altogether.
Heckin' chunky boy.
Look at that baby. Look at that fluffy baby. It's adorable.
Heckin' chonker, and I love him.
I do also really like Norwegian forest cats. Norwegian forest cats, gorgeous. Gorgeous.
They're not that much smaller than a Maine Coon.
I delivered to someone with a Norwegian forest cat, and they tried to run outside the door. It's so fluffy. Looked like a giant fucking cotton ball. It was so fucking cute. And in all honesty, I have a fluffy mini lion. It's Spike.
Yeah.
It's Spike. He's so large now. He gets larger every day, and we love him for it. He's the big boy, the head honcho. It's really funny because Dave was like, Pond is the matriarch of this family, of all the cats.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, but I feel like Spike and Nancy are getting to the age where they're like, okay, boomer. Like,
They are. They are. I just look at her and be like, okay, boomer. Okay, grandma.
Boomer.
I remember when Netflix came in the mail. Okay, grandma, it's time for your meds.
Yeah, Pond is just like, goddamn kids, don't listen to anything. You're ruining the housing market with your avocado toast. And fucking Nancy and Spike are like, okay, boomer. Hey, I remember Netflix DVDs.
Sames.
No, we're talking about Cat Generation Boomer, which is Netflix DVDs era.
Uh-huh.
I also remember when Netflix did DVDs.
Remember when they started doing games that way, too?
Oh, yeah. Man, I really value a life that didn't have NFTs and, like, DLC add-on content for everything.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I love DLCs, but it used to be, you got a full fucking game, right? You got a full fucking game. I'm gonna sound like a fucking boomer here in a minute. I'm gonna sound like a... You know, it used to be, right?
I would sound like a full-on boomer.
You get
All
a full
right.
game, and then, like, a DLC would come out for the game that you already purchased. You purchased the whole game. You didn't buy a game that was, like, half or, like, a quarter of a game, and then they were like, don't worry, we're gonna release the content later. And you're
Final
like,
Fantasy VII.
what? Why? I already purchased the game. I want the full game. I would like the full game, please. I don't want to pay more money to get the full game. Like, then it's...
It's like Final Fantasy VII.
You get it. Anyway, it's fine. I feel like if you want to do that now, you literally just have to play indie games, which is literally all I'm doing. By the way, end of Dredge coming up. I caught all the fish. So now, I'm just going to show you what happens when I sail off the end of the earth. And we're going to have a fun time. And then we can pick an ending. It's the bad ending, the badder ending, and then the worst ending. Because none of them are great.
My face itches so bad.
Your face itches? Do you want me to scratch your face?
I don't know. I also don't want to compromise your comfort.
Right. I understand. That's why I offered to scratch your face.
I don't know.
Where does your face itch?
Like right where this hair is like landing on my cheek, dog.
Do you want me to scratch it?
Yes, please.
I scratch the face. Does that feel better?
Thank you. I can't compromise her comfort.
We can't move the cat, because cat law. So sometimes you need somebody else to scratch your face for you.
Yeah. And even though she's kitten, she's number one priority on cat law. Kittens are always number one priority on cat law.
She's so comfortable. We're not going to be able to move her. Anyway, but I have equipment to set up because I didn't set up the equipment before I did this because we were distracted because cat. So
Yay, toast.
we're going to have to set up the equipment and then we're going to start with the game stream and then we're going to sail off the end of the earth. And then we're going to decide what we do from there because, in all honesty, I don't know. I didn't pick a backup for it. But we're almost done with Dredge, so really fun time.
Quite
It's been
literally
totally chill.
one-hand kitten.
Maybe I'll play a good Final Fantasy game that doesn't have any DLC content for it. I might play Final Fantasy 12. Who the fuck knows?
Flaking.
No. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I'm going to go ahead and get off here, and we're going to move, set up the equipment. I do this every single week on Tuesday, 8 Central, except for when I don't. And I'm not going to tell you when that is. But I normally do it, and it's normally here at 8 Central.
every single week. So if you like this and you want to do it again, and you want to come back and you want to hear the rest of the story, if you're intrigued at all, go to the YouTube, check out the other videos that I've done. I've already read 90% of this series, and you can see all of it anytime you fucking want. Or you can go and purchase the books. I told you, Ransom Riggs wrote it. He's a great author. He deserves more attention. Maybe you go and do that. And next time, maybe you see me again. Maybe you don't. Maybe I disappear into the ether, and then you'll be wondering if any of this was real. That would also be totally hilarious. To me personally. And to everybody else who knows that I do the Discord after this, I'm not going to tell you how to find the Discord. It's a mystery for the rest of you. But I'm going to go to the totally not real Discord and play a video game for multiple hours that you can't find. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed Toast. I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope you had a fun time. Because we're never doing it again. No, I'm joking. We will. Next Tuesday at 8. Later, guys.